Yeah. So this is kind of big. Um, so ever since the Adam Petty video, people have been telling me to do all sorts of other drivers. And while many other people on this site have done it better, I always thought, you know what, I might think about doing those some other time. But there was always one, especially after the Mark Martin video, when that went, started getting views and stuff. Like, people actually had an interest in this shit. Yeah, this is what if Jimmie Johnson died in his 2000 Watkins Glen crash. It looked very possible at the time, and some would even say that it's incredible in an era where vascular skull fractions and non-Hans device crashes were common. Why don't we get this show on the road? So we're going to do this through the end of 2017 and into 2018, just so that we have a place to stop these crazy theories. So anyway, yes, and one more thing. All of these what if videos are in separate universes. So Mark Martin retiring in 2005, that's its own thing, and Adam Petty being alive is also its own thing, and this is entirely a closed system, is what I'm trying to say right here. So, but with all that crazy stuff out of the way, we're already wasted a minute and a half of this. Let's get this show on the road. So, Watkins Glen 2000. On lap 47, Jimmie goes plowing just head on at the speed of sound into the wall, and no movement. The safety crew is moving around there, and they're getting really anxious. They don't like the fact that his window nets are up. So the cars are brought down on pit road for a red flag while they clean that up. And the race is going to be called on lap 48. And if you take a look at the race, this crash happened on lap 47, so the race being called on lap 48 is actually quite possible. Ron Fellows is your winner. Jimmie Johnson is now dead, as a matter of fact. This incident doesn't make the Hans device mandatory because Jimmie's, he's got no notoriety to his name. He's got absolutely no name brand recognition. He's got 0 wins. He has a few ASA wins, I think, but that isn't enough to shake the very foundation of NASCAR. And that is how the Watkins Glen race ends. Hermie Sadler is the one that drives the 92 car till the end of that season, and the team eventually just folds altogether at season's end. So Jimmie's death brings about the death of that team as well as himself. So now let's move in to what everyone's waiting for. What happens as a result in the Cup Series? Well, in 2001, Rick Hendrick expresses some interest in a 4th team. Jeff Gordon runs some bush races to try and get acquainted with some drivers down in there and discover, who's going to actually drive the car full-time in 2002. So who instead would take the car? Because you see, the thing about 2000 and 2001 is that there are very few drivers to choose from. The pipeline is pretty dry. Most drivers down in there racing in the Busch Series getting ready to go to Cup are already signed to other teams. Matt Kenseth, Dale Jr., Greg Biffle eventually, Jamie McMurray even. And there's a whole lot of guys down there that have proven themselves in the past, but they're really not worth taking a risk in a full-time team on. See, there's guys like Jeff Green, but he's already, priming himself to get ready to an RCR seat. David Green's there, but, he's no Jeff Green. There's Randy LaJoy, but he's in his 50s already, There's really no one there to take a real chance on. The only driver that I can see, and I could see possibly fingering your way through some truck drivers and possibly slotting them into a car, but that is a lot less likely than this idea. Jason Keller. Jason Keller at this time, I forgot his exact age, I didn't write it here, but he's around, late 20s, early 30s. Jimmie Johnson was like 27 or 28 when he became a full-time Hendrick driver. So I say that's about the same age range. I mean, it seems reasonable. Jason Keller has had a little bit of success in the Busch Series. Possibly you could even say even more than Jimmie Johnson in the year of 2001, even if Jimmie Johnson's still alive. So I'd say that Jason Keller is the one that's going to run the 48 car full-time in 2002, and he just runs a few races in 2001 to get acquainted with things. So that means your 2002 driver lineup at the start of the season going into the 500. Terry Labonte in the 5, Jeff Gordon in the 24, Jerry Nadeau in the 25, and the 48 is going to be driven by Jason Keller. So let's get into 2002. So just like in real life, Rick Hendrick drops Nadeau after Richmond and picks up Nemechek instead. So Keller is going to run decent. He's driving Hendrick Motorsports equipment. He's been in the Busch Series before. He's had success there. Clearly he can drive, but is he at the level of Jimmie Johnson? I don't know. I'd say that he'd get around 11th in points, maybe contending for some wins, but I don't think he would win in his rookie year by any stretch of the imagination. So, at the end of 2002, Rick Hendrick's like, all right, you did pretty good. So he signs Keller through 2004 with a performance clause just in case that performance does taper off eventually. But I don't think Rick needs to worry about that too much, which means going into 2003, the Hendrick Motorsports driver lineup is Terry Labonte, Jeff Gordon, Joe Nemechek, and Jason Keller, all in the cars that they should be in at this point. Okay, moving into 2003. So at the season's end, you know, with like 5 races to go, Nemechek is dropped for Brian Vickers, your 2003 Busch Series champion. I don't see why that would change if Jimmie Johnson was dead. Keller does improve. He contends for a lot more wins, gets probably, you know, around maybe, you know, 14, 15 top 10s. He could potentially get a win in 2003 as well. Hendrick very strong then, but that championship belonged to Kenseth. Absolutely nothing changes. No, Jimmie Johnson won a buttload of races in 2003, but so did Ryan Newman. So as a result, the chase still becomes a thing on form. But yeah, not much notable happening in 2003, so we'll jump to 2004, where the driver lineup still consists of Terry Labonte in the 5, Jeff Gordon in the 24, Brian Vickers in the 25, and Jason Keller, of course, in the 48. So, 2004. So this is, in a sense, Jeff Gordon's year, with Rick Hendrick putting as much focus into Jeff Gordon winning this championship as he can. Your real race series championship contenders at the end of the season are going to be Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth, potentially Kurt Busch, but I feel like it's going to be a race between Kenseth and Gordon at this point. I mean, Kurt Busch, how he managed to actually win that 2004 championship is insane to think. But Jeff Gordon is really getting a lot of focus this season. So mid-season, Terry Labonte, his performance really starts dropping. He still wins the Southern 500 in 2003, but at this point, he's just barely hanging on at this point. And of course, all the focus is being put on Jeff Gordon anyway, so even if he was still performing at a championship level, you know, he really wouldn't be able to, because there's very little focus on his car. So he goes part-time mid-season. He races maybe like every 5 weeks. No, not that infrequently, but like you get the idea. Like about like before, you know, halfway point in the season, before the Firecracker 400, he's just like, you know what, I'm just gonna race occasionally. Jason Keller gets a race win at Las Vegas in this reality. It's a very convincing win. He sits on the pole and wins, but he does end up finishing a lot lower in points than usual. See, like the past 2 years, he's been right on the edge of success, but in 2004, he doesn't even make the chase. Finishes like 16th or 17th in points. So Jason Keller at the end of the season, he is in fact dropped for someone pretty important, not gonna lie. And of course, Vickers is Vickers, and he just is kind of hanging out. But of course, Jeff Gordon getting the focus doesn't really make much sense. But yeah. So, moving into 2005, at the start of the season, the driver lineups. The 5 car will run full time, but with a rotation of drivers. In this case, Terry Labonte will run a few of the races, around half, and Steve Park and Kenny Wallace split the rest. As for the rest of the team, Jeff Gordon's still in the 24, Brian Vickers is still in the 25, but there's someone in the 48 car that you may recognize. It's a young, unproven driver named Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch enters the Cup Series in 2005, driving the 48 instead of the 5. Interesting, isn't it? Jason Keller, on the other hand, moves over to Bill Davis Racing with Scott Wimmer in the 22, and Jason Keller takes control of the 23. Now this is just a temporary thing. It's kind of like one of those middle things, like the Grace season, and all that stuff. You know what? The thing that Casey Kane did before he went to Hendrick. Yeah, that. But that's where he is for the season, Bill Davis. So in 2005, Kyle Busch suddenly proves himself by winning 5 times, and yeah. The focus is redistributed, regardless of whether or not Jeff Gordon wins the championship in 2004. Resources are redistributed pretty evenly between the 24, 25, and 48. The 5 car is really just an R&D car at this point, like it is in real life. Hey! But, yeah. Kyle Busch ends out having a 5-win season, doing all sorts of stuff. But the problem with that is that he's a raw talent, just like he was in real life in 2005. It's either checkers or wreckers, and he ends out the day 17th in points as a result of all the DNFs and stuff. Brian Vickers, on the other hand, he's just Brian Vickers. He's the same as he always is. Of course, Jason Keller is just kind of there. He's driving some pretty low-quality equipment. Even in 2005, Bill Davis Racing was going downhill massively. I mean, you could get some top 10s here and there, but he's not exactly lighting the world on fire. Now, this is very, very important. Jimmie Johnson won the Charlotte Chase race in 2005. Since he's not alive, he obviously can't win that. So who wins it instead? Well, second place to Jimmie Johnson in that race was Kurt Busch. And I don't see any reason why Kurt Busch couldn't win that race as well. Just moving up 1 spot, basically. Now this win at Charlotte, he also has another win in the chase, because Kurt Busch, if he doesn't win the championship in 2004, he's got a really good case of doing it in 2005 with all these extra wins that he's getting as a result of Jimmie Johnson not being alive. But these and other wins in the chase end out keeping him from getting a DUI. He's too busy celebrating with his team to go drinking and driving. That may sound a little bit counterintuitive, seeing as how you'd be celebrating a lot more often. You think you'd be drinking a lot more often. Well, Kurt Busch has a championship to win. And regardless of whether or not he does actually win it, he does not get a DUI in 2005. Now, in real life, he was going to actually move into the Penske car in 2006, but since he got the DUI, he got released immediately. Well, his championship contending ways make Jack Roush take a different approach of things and keep Kurt on board in 2006. I bet you know where I'm going with this. So let's take a look at 2006. So there's a lot of drivers getting shaken up in 2006. Big roster shakeup. Jamie McMurray obviously leaves the Ganassi team to go to Roush. Unfortunately, he kind of can't, seeing as how Kurt Busch is no longer in that car. You see, the big thing about Kurt Busch is that Jamie McMurray was supposed to take one of the cars at Roush. David Reagan and Mark Martin were supposed to split the seat in 2006. However, Jack Roush determined that Reagan wasn't ready and wanted to, bring Mark back. Well, in this case, since he's got a stable lineup and not a new driver in Jamie McMurray to get oriented with, he feels a lot more comfortable with just giving a few spots to David Reagan in the 6 and Mark Martin do the rest. Because Mark Martin, obviously, he wanted to do part-time in 2006. He wanted to run trucks. He wanted to run part-time in the Cup Series for the rest of his career. So this is how he does that. Instead of driving the 6 car for the full season, he splits it with David Reagan. And obviously, Greg Biffle, Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards stay where they are, but Kurt Busch remains in the 97 car. Where does this leave Jamie McMurray? That's a good question, young viewers. Well, there was a certain car that was being filled up by other part-timers at Hendrick Motorsports in 2005. I've just realized that the entire time I've been recording this, the door's been closed, so it's probably been extremely echoey in here, and I apologize. Anyway, back to the video. Jamie McMurray takes over the 5 car full-time. So everyone else retires, Steve Park goes away forever, Kenny Wallace does Kenny Wallace things, Terry Labonte goes and does God knows what he did after 2005. But, yeah. Jeff Gordon is 24, Brian Vickers in 25, and Kyle Busch remains in the 48 car. Jason Keller. I bet you're really interested in where he's ending up. Well, there's really only one spot left for him, and that is the 2 car. He takes over for the retiring Rusty Wallace, becomes a teammate with Ryan Newman. Everything's great in the world. 2006. This is about to get interesting. Okay. Many things happened in 2006 with Jimmie Johnson. In reality, he won a buttload of races and the championship. Well, that obviously can't happen if he's not alive. So, who wins the races that he loses? Well, in the Daytona 500 in 2006, Jimmie Johnson won. Yep. But obviously, in this reality, he can't, because he's not even alive. Who finished second in that Daytona 500, may I ask? Can a racing reference, can I bring that up quick? Oh, Casey Mears finished second. Well, isn't this a coincidence? Guess who wins the 2006 Daytona 500? Oh, yeah. 2006, very interesting. Crazy stuff. No idea what's going on here. Brian Vickers continues to be Brian Vickers and underperform in his 25 car. Jason Keller, he's, Kurt Busch didn't exactly do anything spectacular in 2006, and neither did Ryan Newman. So why is there any reason to believe that Jason Keller would? Keller, no wins, 18th in the standings. Kyle Busch, on the other hand, has a bit of a slump from 2005. Ends up coming back, gets 2 wins, respectable, but only manages 12th in the standings, no chase. McMurray finds success in the July Daytona race. It is, isn't it? Am I fucking stupid? I might be stupid. Anyway, he wins that race. Fuck it, I don't care. So Jeff Gordon, 2 wins, nothing special. 5th in the standings, though. 2006 with Kenseth's championship to lose, and with no Jimmie Johnson to hold him back. Matt Kenseth repeats from 2003, wins himself a championship. Hallelujah. 2007 rolls around, and Brian Vickers, well, he's Brian Vickers, and he doesn't really have much success to claim from Hendrick. Now, you see, the thing about 2006 is that he does win that... No, 2005, I think he actually won that race at Talladega, but he was pushing Jimmie Johnson to do it. Now, if he's pushing the 48, but it's Kyle Busch, I don't know if he's going to be able to even keep up with Kyle Busch is basically what I'm trying to say. Kyle Busch, very successful at plate tracks in 2005. So does that scenario where Jimmie Johnson wrecks with Dale Jr. and Brian Vickers wins at Talladega, does that happen in this reality? I don't see how it's possible. There's way too many different elements going on here. So basically, at this point, Brian Vickers, no wins. He's looking to be a bust. He's looking to be a Busch Series winner and nothing more. So he gets dumped from the 25 car in favor of a certain someone. Hey, Casey Mears, what are you doing in the 41 car? What are you doing? Why are you there? No, get out of there. Get out of there. You're coming over here. Come on, get into the car. Get into the 25. Yeah, with that added prestige of the Daytona 500 win, it gives Casey Mears a lot more confidence in himself, and it makes him a significantly better driver. Instead of being an absolute failure at everything, Casey Mears drives for Hendrick and is successful. But how successful, you may ask? Well, you'll just have to wait and find out, because we need to continue through the video. Jamie McMurray is still in the 5, Jeff Gordon still in the 24, Kyle Busch still in the 48, only changes Casey Mears. No change at Penske. Keller and Newman remain in their cars. Brian Vickers moves over to a brand new team called Red Bull Racing. Will they be successful? I doubt it, but we'll have to wait and find out. 2007 rolls around for Roush Racing. Martin finally leaves the car full time. David Reagan will race for Rookie of the Year in 2007, and no changes at all. Biffle, Kenseth, Kurt Busch, Edwards, everyone is still in their car, like they, well, in this reality they should be, but not as they do in real life, that's for sure. 2007, Jeff Gordon, 8 wins. I don't know what the hell he did in 2007, but damn if he couldn't have finished top 10 in every single race. 36 top 10s. That's what I say happens. It's a perfect goddamn season. Kyle Busch, he has a 2-win season once again, but does improve to 5th in the standings, but he is nowhere close to Jeff Gordon on track. Jamie McMurray, on the other hand, starts to falter a little bit, ends out with no wins, doesn't make the chase, and ends out 14th in the standings. The new and improved Casey Mears has a 2-win season, winning the Coke 600 as well as the Chicagoland race a few weeks later, and ends out the day 9th in the standings. Jason Keller, on the other hand, he's starting to rebound a little bit. He was the original 48 driver. Okay, he's had a few bad years. He's had a few rough years. He's ready to reconcile. He gets himself a comeback victory. Ends out the day in 11th in standings. So even with the chase, Jeff Gordon's 36 top 10s, no one even comes close in this. Yeah, he wins it even in the chase by like 200 points here, dude. Yeah, Jeff Gordon wins the championship. No contest. But that's 2007. There's a huge move coming next season, and it's about to get really interesting in the driver lineups. 2008. What happens in 2008? Well, I can tell you this much. There's no changes whatsoever in Penske and Roush. Everything remains the way that it was in 2007. Hendrick, on the other hand, has to move a few things around here and there. Jamie McMurray leaves the 5 car after a little bit of success in it, but there was just not enough room for him with a certain someone who decided to come over. Casey Mears, 5 car. Jeff Gordon, 24. Kyle Busch, 48. Dale Earnhardt Jr. drives the 88 in 2008. So many 8s. So many 8s. Make the 8 stop. Please, God. Yeah, I don't see how Jimmie Johnson dying would change that. So what about McMurray? Well, there's really only one spot for him, and I don't see why Joe Gibbs wouldn't take this opportunity to get a proven race winner in his seat. Denny Hamlin in the 11, Tony Stewart in the 20, Jamie McMurray takes over the 18, full-time in 2008. And much in the similar fashion that Kyle Busch did in 2008, McMurray has a breakout year. He wins 2 races, and that's it. But he does manage to make it into 8th in the standings. Good season all around, basically. Casey Mears, on the other hand, not as good. He does win 1 single solitary race. I'll let you decide where it is. He ends out the year in 13th in the standings. Nothing special. Jeff Gordon, he wins 1 race. He ends out the day 7th in the standings. Dale Jr. wins Michigan. Places only 14th in the standings, however. Kyle Busch, on the other hand, well, he's kind of cheating. Because Kyle Busch has 5 wins this year. And, you know, he's no longer that raw talent. He's clearly got what it takes. He takes this opportunity to become a breakout driver and get going and all that good stuff. The problem is Jason Keller. Jason Keller doesn't work very well with Ryan Newman. And I wouldn't even say Kurt Busch and Ryan Newman worked out that well. But the thing is, Jason Keller is no plate track driver. He's more of a... He's Busch grown. He was in the series for so long that he's so used to driving these short tracks, and he does really well there, but he doesn't do very well at Daytona. So, no one's there to push Ryan Newman to the lead of the 2008 Daytona 500. Which means that the 2008 Daytona 500 goes to Tony Stewart. Very, very important. Yeah. But in any case, Jason Keller, on the other hand, does end up winning a race and placed 9th in the standings, but the championship, yeah, it's between Carl Edwards, Tony Stewart, and then also Kenseth. So basically, it's those guys. But 2008 belonged to Carl Edwards. So Edwards ends out being your champion when all is said and done. So that's 2008. That's a wrap on that year. Let's move on now, how about? So no changes in 2009. Mark Martin continues to race part-time in whatever the hell he wants to drive because he's Mark Martin. Which means that there's no reason to force Casey Mears out of a Hendrick car. Hey, doesn't that sound good? Anyway, yeah. 2009, no driver changes. Casey Mears, Jeff Gordon, Kyle Busch, Dale Jr. in the cars they should be in. 2009, on the other hand, sees some changes. And that would be Hamlin in the 11, McMurray in the 18, and a certain unproven young guy that will end up being a piece of shit eventually in the 20 car. I'll let you use your imagination on that one. So where does Tony Stewart go? I wonder. Could it possibly be his own team? No, that's crazy. Tony Stewart ends up driving the 14 and Ryan Newman drives the 39 just like in real life. But that means that Ryan Newman is no longer in the 12 car. Who takes that over, you may ask? Well, Jason Keller continues to drive the 2 car, Kurt Busch moves over to the 12 car, and Sam Ornish moves over to the 77 from wherever the hell he came from. I don't even know. He just came out of nowhere and popped up into the car. I don't even understand, but yeah. So that leaves a big gaping hole at Roush Racing. Someone needs to take over the 97, and there's really not that many drivers that can. As a matter of fact, Jack Roush desperately wants it to be Mark Martin again, but he's too busy having fun not being full-time. Which means that Jack Roush has no choice but to slot Todd Cleaver into the 97. Everything else stays the same, Reagan, Biffle, Kenseth, Edwards, but Cleaver takes over the 97. And he's a colossal failure, so colossal in fact that the 5th Roush team closes its doors mid-season. I mean, we haven't even started talking about the season itself, and we're already talking about how many teams are shutting down over here. So, Jimmie McMurray driving the 18 car, but comes off of a career season with 2 wins. He ends up winning no races in 2009 and missing the chase. Ends out the season in 14th in the standings. Jeff Gordon does his normal Jeff Gordon thing, winning twice. And he ends out the year 3rd in the standings. Casey Mears, unfortunately, falters a little bit. ends out no wins this year, ends up the year in 17th in the standings. Dale Jr., well, we all know what happened to him in the just about 2010s. No wins, 25th in the standings. Why did Hendrick keep him employed for so fucking long, dude? Jason Keller continues to drive the 2 car. He's I don't know how old he is at this point, but he's getting up there in years. And he's starting to lose the edge that he had. He has no wins in 2009, and that's at the year 18th in the standings. Kurt Busch, well, he rebounds off of coming from Jack Roush Racing. Gets himself pretty wins, couple of them, 2 in fact, if we're going to be exact. Tony Stewart just kills in 2009. He has 6 wins. Ends out the season 4th in the standings. Kyle Busch also kills, gets himself 6 wins. Very, 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 very top heavy in 2009, as a matter of fact. So yeah, Kyle Busch, 6 wins, 9th in the standings. But the championship is going to come down to Kurt Busch and Denny Hamlin. And, well, you may say that Hamlin chokes all the time. Well, I'd say choke on this. Hamlin wins 5 races, including the 2009 Homestead race, to win himself a nice little championship. There you have it. So what happens in 2010? Well, the extent that Casey Mears has been drugged through the dirt these past 2 years with no wins whatsoever. Yeah. Wait, did he win in 2008? I don't even remember. He had one win, but he didn't win in 2009, and he just kind of wasn't that good. But neither was Dale Jr., but you don't see him getting fired. Oh, no. So in 2010, there's a bit of a change. The 5 car has an opening, and someone needs to get into that car. Who's it going to be, you may ask? Well, I do believe it's going to be... Who else? It's Brad Keselowski. Come on, people. The fact that I had to build that up is just sad in itself. Yeah, Keselowski takes over the 5 car full time in 2010, just like Rick Hendrick promised. Wink. Gordon remains in the 24. Kyle Busch remains in the 48. Dale Jr. remains in the 88. All is good. Now, where in the world does Casey Mears end up in that case? Because I'm sure you are just as interested in this as I am. Well, loyal viewers, there is one place that he could end up, and that would be in the 18 car. Why not? Why not? He's multi-time winner at this point. Come on now. Denny Hamlin drives the 11. Asshole McFuckface drives the 20. And Casey Mears will drive the 18. Well then, what about Jamie McMurray in that case? Well, yeah. Jamie McMurray moves over to the 2 car, replacing Jason Keller. Kurt Busch remains in the 12, and Sam Hornish remains in the 77. Where in the world does Jason Keller go? Well, he'll move over, just like Jamie McMurray did, into the 1 car. Jason Keller will instead, though, to be teammates with Juan Montoya. Now, Roush, not very interesting, but we will say that Roush is officially a 4-car team now with Reagan, Biffle, Kenseth, and Edwards. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. So let's move into the year 2010. I am halfway through these pre-prepared notes, okay? Just now hitting the halfway mark. Just to let you know. So we're in 2010. Jamie McMurray still wins the 500 and the Brickyard, just like he does in real life in 2010. But he doesn't have as much success in the 2 car as he did in the 1. Ends out the season 18th in the standings. Now, the 5 car collapsed in 2010. Not sure what happened in real life, but in 2010, in this reality, this is the same thing. Keselowski doesn't manage to get a win, ends out the season 19th in the standings. Dale Jr. does his Dale Jr. thing in 2010. No wins, 21st in the standings. Jeff Gordon, on the other hand, also has no wins, but he does manage a 10th place finish in the season standings. Kyle Busch is still carrying the Hendrick flag with 3 wins, ends out the season 9th in the standings. Now we jump over to Jason Keller in his 1 car. He doesn't win any race. He ends out the season 21st in the standings. His career is just falling apart at this point, so he decides to pull a Sadler and drop to the Nationwide Series for the 2011 season. So where does this leave the championship? Oh, and if you care, Casey Mears doesn't win, but does end up making the chase in 12th. If you care as much about Casey Mears as I do, just to let you know. So where does that leave the championship? Well, it's still basically a race between Hamlin and Harvick. There's no Jimmie Johnson to keep up. But Denny Hamlin tries to repeat but fails. Kevin Harvick will be your 2010 champion. So, 2011, no change. This is a very boring. This 2010 to 2011 was a very boring year in real life, just like it is in this reality. Absolutely no changes at Hendrick. Still Keselowski, Gordon, Busch Jr. At Penske, we have a slight number change here. Kurt Busch moves into a 22 car, sponsored by old Pennzoil. Sam Hornish disappears off of the face of the earth and is replaced by David Stremme in the 12 car because everyone loves David Stremme. Jamie McMurray remains in the 2, trying to repeat a little bit of that success that he had in 2010. No changes at all at Roush. No changes at all at Joe Gibbs. No changes at all at Ganassi. Very boring year. So this is Keselowski's breakout season. Keselowski just overnight moves from a dismal 2010 to being a championship contender in 2011. It's a stark turnaround, to say the least. Keselowski ends up winning 3 races, ends out the season 5th in points. It's a good year for Keselowski. Gordon also wins 3 races, but only manages 8th in points. McMurray doesn't quite have the success that he had in the front of the field in 2010, but in 2011 he manages to remake the chase again, but only musters 12th in the chase. Kurt Busch takes his 22 car to 2 wins and a 11th place standing finish. Dale Jr. once again wins. Well, he actually did win in real life in 2011, but in this reality he doesn't win, but still manages to get back into the chase and ends out the season 7th in points. Oh shit, did I forget? Oh, sorry. Yeah, Jason Keller drops down to Nationwide in 2011. I forgot to tell you who his replacement was. It's Casey Kane. Sorry about that. Casey Kane drives the 1 car in 2011. And he also wins 1 race and ends out the season 9th in points. So, the championship this season comes down to Casey Mears, I Can Dream, damn it, Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick, and Matt Kenseth. Casey Mears wins 4 races. No, sorry, wins 2 races, ends out 4th in the standings. Kurt Busch wins twice, ends out 3rd in the standings. It's between Kevin Harvick and Tony Stewart. Harvick and Stewart both win 5 races, but Stewart is your 2011 champion. So there's a bit of a shakeup in 2012. 2012 is an interesting year for many drivers. For example, Roush starting to die a little bit. The 17 car is shut down. Matt Kenseth leaves entirely, leaving Reagan, Biffle, and Edwards in where they're supposed to be. Where in the world does a 2-time champion like Matt Kenseth end up in the prime of his career? Where else but Hendrick Motorsports, right? Am I right, guys? Come on now. Kenseth, bringing in 24 career wins, lands the 48 car. Ooh. Now that's a twist if I've ever heard one. Keselowski remains in the 5, Gordon remains in the 24, Earnhardt remains in the 88, but Matt Kenseth is the new driver of the 48 car. Ooh, earth-shattering change. What in the world happens to Kyle Busch? Perennial race win contender. Occasionally a championship contender. Where in the world does he go? Well, this is about to shake your foundation a little bit, I'd say. Sorry. Kyle Busch goes to JGR. Ooh. Joe Gibbs Racing picks up a hot Kyle Busch. Multi-time race winner. But what? What car does he drive? He already has so many great drivers. Like Denny Hamlin and Casey Mears. Also a fuckboy, but who cares about that? No. Kyle Busch opens a brand new team, 4 cars, for JGR in 2012. Kyle Busch takes over the 19. And it's a full platter at JGR. Ooh. Shivers down your spine, I'm sure. So, Kurt Busch is also a Busch. And in 2012, well, not many great things happened, did it? Yeah, he ends up going to the 51 and has a hell of a time with that. And Sam Hornish Jr. is the one that needs to control the 22's shenanigans from here on out. Jamie McMurray remains in the 2 car, however, and none of that changes. And Casey Kane in the 1 car, like he was in 2011, might I point out, yeah, he is still teammates with Montoya. So, 2012. Kurt drives for Finch, no wins, 25th in the standings, about what you'd expect. Gordon wins 2 races in 2012. Places 10th, you know. Just can't win in the chase, man. Kent has taken over the 48 car, wins himself 3 pretty races, ends out the year 7th in points. Dale Jr. finally finds victory lane once again. No, wait. He didn't win in Michigan in 2011, did he? He did that in 2012. Okay. So disregard that. Maybe I'll remember to edit it out. I highly doubt it, though. Yeah. He wins Michigan in 2012. 12th in the standings. Everything's great. McMurray. Another year with no wins for old Jamie Mick. 16th in the standings for him. Casey Mears, on the other hand, also no wins, but ends out the year 13th in points. Just missing that chase. Kyle Busch, 3 wins, 11th in points, just trying to break in that brand new team. And Casey Kane finds himself in victory lane 1 time, ends out the season 6th in the points. 2012. Brad Keselowski's championship year. And with the kind of equipment that Hendrick brings, I see no reason why that can't be the case now. Keselowski, who finds victory lane 7 times and wins himself a championship in 2012. Good shit, man. So, that's 2012. What about 2013? Because this video is just never going to end, is it? So, no changes at Hendrick. Keselowski, Gordon, Kenseth, Jr. in 2013. 2013, however, sees a change at Roush. Over at Roush. And Ricky Stenhouse, 2-time Nationwide Series champion, will take over the 6 car full-time. Greg Biffle remains in the 16. Carl Edwards remains in the 99. 2013 sees a shakeup at Penske. Jimmie McMurray is finally kicked out for underperforming, and someone else that can go ahead and underperform takes his place. That's right, Logano in the 2 car. Sam Hornish remains in the 22 and has to steer the Penske course all by himself because we all know, yeah, you get the idea. McMurray is going to take over the 78 this season for Runacher Foe and all that good stuff. No changes at Ganassi, remains a 2-car team. Case Kane 1 Montoya. Over to Joe Gibbs Racing. So Jamie McMurray gets kicked out of the 2-car, moves into the 78. Well, that's supposed to be Kurt's car. Where in the world does Kurt go? Did you notice that someone else had to take McMurray's spot? Ooh, this is pretty interesting, wouldn't you say? The 2013 driver lineup for Joe Gibbs is Hamlin in the 11, Casey Mears in the 18, Kyle Busch in the 19, and Kurt Busch in the 20. Ooh. Imagine. So in 2013, Keselowski picks right back off where he left off, picks right back. You get the idiom. He wins the Daytona 500 and finds himself winning 2 races that season, ending out the year 12th in points. Good shit. Good shit. Jeff Gordon, on the other hand, is going to find victory lane 1 time and manage 6th place in the standings. Kyle Busch does 4 wins, ends out the season 4th in the standings. Kurt Busch wins no races, just trying to get oriented with Joe Gibbs, and really the only car that was performing at Gibbs in 2013 was Kyle Busch. So, no real changes in 2013. Casey Mears, on the other hand, actually does manage to win twice and find 9th place in the standings. But the championship is obviously what everyone cares about. Jimmie Johnson won the 2013 championship, but he can't now. He can't now. So, of course, it comes down between a couple of guys. It's going to come down between Harvick, Dale Jr., and Matt Kenseth. It's a very interesting championship season. Dale Jr. is going to find victory lane twice, but only muster the 3rd place in standings. Matt Kenseth, on the other hand, wins 6 races, but only ends out the year 2nd. Kevin Harvick is a 2-time champion now. Yeah, it pains me to say it, but, you know, that's just how Kevin Harvick rolls. But what's very interesting about Kevin Harvick is what happens in 2014. Coming off a championship, Kevin Harvick leaves RCR. Ooh, oh, that's very interesting, don't you think? He's going to take over the 4 car for 2014 at Stewart-Haas. Danica obviously remains in the 10. Stewart obviously remains in the 17. But the 41's interesting. Kurt Busch is too busy at JGR. So someone else needs to pick up the 41. And there's a certain guy that dropped down to the Busch Series in 2011 that's been looking to make a re-entrance into the Cup Series. That man's name is Jason Keller. He's back. And he's going to drive the 41 in 2014. No changes to Hendrick this year. Keselowski, Gordon, Kenseth, Dale Jr. No changes at Roush, Ricky Stenhouse, Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards. Basically, very little changes all around. No changes at Penske. No changes at Furniture Row. No changes at JGR. The only big change beyond Jason Keller is Kasey Kahne's new teammate. Goes by the name of Kyle Larson. Kasey Kahne in the 1, Kyle Larson in the 42. So in a very similar season to Kurt Busch's 2014 season, Jason Keller wins a short track and finds himself in the chase. 14th in the standings is how he ends his year. Keselowski backs up his championship season with another 7 wins. Ends out the year 6 in points. Matt Kenseth can only muster 1 win. Finds himself 9th in the series standings at the end of the year. Casey Mears doesn't win a race, but does manage 15th in the standings, which is a chase spot now. Kurt Busch wins another race to add to his pile. He finds himself 11th in points. And the final 4 ends up being Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman, and Denny Hamlin. Very similar to real life, but the problem with real life is that it's too simple, which means that we got to take the simple route. Kevin Harvick, after coming out off a championship last year, comes into a new team and wins the championship again, because that's just what Kevin Harvick would do, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be? So that's 3 championships for Kevin Harvick. When will the misery end? It's a good question, wouldn't you say? Yeah. 2015, once again, no changes for Hendrick, Keselowski, Gordon, Kenseth, Dale Jr. Roush does have a change, however. No more Carl Edwards in the 99. No. The 99 is, in fact, retired. Well, not really. It just goes away. And in its place is the 17 car. Trevor Bayne takes over control of the 17. So that means it's Stenhouse in the 6, Greg Biffle in the 16, and Trevor Bayne in the 17. Interesting, wouldn't you say? No changes at Penske, except Ryan Blaney is running full-time for Wood Brothers. if you count that as a Penske thing, which, you know, honestly you should. McMurray still is in the 78. Kane is still in the 1. Kyle Larson still in the 42. We move over to JGR. No changes there. Still Hamlin, Mears, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch. Now, I forgot to mention this earlier because I forgot to make note of it. Since 2013, pretty top heavy, wouldn't you say, when it came to race wins? Which means that there was very little to move around in when it came to the rest of the winners. Basically, like, the entire top 10 in the standings had basically all the wins. But there was one winner in 2013, maybe two, but the one that we actually care about is Martin Truex Jr. Now, due to the fact that it's so top heavy in the season standings, that the wild card spots in the 2013 chase were easily taken by Martin Truex Jr. and Ryan Newman. There was no reason for Spingate to happen, which means that MWR becomes the new Furniture Row. In 2015, MWR aligns itself with JGR. And Clint Boyer and Martin Truex Jr. are joined in the 55 by none other than Carl Edwards. Oh boy. It's getting spicy in here. No changes, however, at no changes at Stewart-Haas. Still Harvick, Danica, Stewart, and Keller. So let's talk about 2015. How about? So, Kyle Busch still breaks his leg, and Kurt Busch is still suspended. You see, the thing about Kyle Busch being in the 48 for his entire career is that Hendrick, there's no real Hendrick lower series Busch Series team for Kyle Busch to run every single Busch Series race in. So what races he does run in before he moves over to JGR are actually, competent. They make sense. They're actually a cup star helping out a smaller team. But that doesn't change Kyle Busch's desire for control, and he still becomes a team owner in 2012. However, that means that he's still driving in races in the Xfinity Series when 2015 rolls around. He still breaks his leg, but he just doesn't have nearly as many unnecessary wins in the Busch Series, is what I'm trying to say. And Kurt Busch is still suspended because, Kurt Busch just can never have anything good happen to him. So it's very interesting. Joe Gibbs is in a very interesting situation. He needs to find 2 replacement drivers and quick. And really the only options out there are guys like David Reagan, who were just, running with Roush and then went somewhere else. Or maybe even a Brian Vickers. Yeah, obviously Brian Vickers doesn't have a full-time ride. At least I didn't, clearly outline that in the driver lineups thing. So any number of people could replace these guys while they're getting healed up. Well, I mean, I was going to change the thing for Kurt because he really wasn't getting healed up from anything. But then again, broken hearts do hurt, don't they? Yeah, and so do assassination attempts, huh? Anyway, yeah, so they have a few replacements, but they're really unnoteworthy, just like they were in real life. Jason Keller doesn't win any races, ends out the season 16th in points. Brad Keselowski wins twice, manages to get 8th in the standings. Matt Kenseth comes back and wins another 3 races, ends out the year 5th in points. McMurray showing Furniture Row's strength, just like Truex did in 2015. The difference here is that there's no Gibbs Alliance in the future. This is just Cole Pearn and all that business with the RCR affiliation. So just like in real life, Furniture Row wins Pocono, ends out the year 4th in the points. McMurray is the driver, though, so that's the difference. Case Mears, once again, no wins, but does get 10th in points. MWR as a whole has 6 wins, but 4 comes from Edwards. And the final 4 is going to be Harvick, Edwards, Hamlin, and McMurray, obviously. Between them, they all have good seasons, but Carl Edwards has the best season and becomes your 2015 champion. We're already into the year 2016, and it feels like we've only been here for 45 minutes. That's hardly anything. I'm sorry. 2016, there's a certain someone retiring by the name of Jeff Gordon in 2015, which means that Chase Elliott needs to find a seat, and that seat is the 24 car. 24, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Matt Kenseth, Dale Jr. stay in their same place. Okay, so 2016, Ricky Stenhouse, Greg Biffle, Trevor Bayne, at Roush. That doesn't change at all. No changes at Penske. No changes at Furniture Row. No changes at Ganassi. And also no Gibbs Alliance for Furniture Row either. No changes at Gibbs. No changes at MWR. No changes at Stewart-Haas. There's basically no changes at all. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Absolutely no changes whatsoever except for Chase Elliott. There you go. There you go. So, Brad Keselowski finds himself in victory lane thrice. 3 wins for him. Ends out the year 6 in points. Good stuff, good stuff. Matt Kenseth finds victory lane twice. 5th in the points. The non-aligned Furniture Row, not Gibbs aligned. McMurray still manages to find victory lane one more time and end out the year 13th in standings. Larson ends up winning Michigan and Homestead, ends out the season 12th in points. Unfortunately, Casey Mears finds victory lane 0 times once again and ends out the year 18th in points. Kyle Busch, 4 wins. That's enough about that. Jason Keller, on the other hand, no wins, 19th in points, and he finally, after all this time, in 2016, at the ripe age of 46, Jason Keller finally retires. So Boyer wins 3 races, Edwards wins 3 races, Truex wins 2 races. Final 4, lots of Ks. Edwards doesn't have a K, obviously, but Kyle Busch, Keselowski, and Harvick have Ks. Kyle Busch, your 2016 champion. We're almost done, everyone. 2017 rolls around. Brad Keselowski in the 5. It's no changes, basically. Stenhouse remains in the 6, and Trevor Bayne remains in the 17, but Greg Biffle finally leaves forever. I mean, I'm not happy about it, but hey, he doesn't. There is a change at Gibbs, however. Casey Mears now winning for several years, and missing the chase in 2016 was the final straw. The 11 remains Denny Hamlin. The 19th remains Kyle Busch. The 20 remains Kurt Busch. But the 18 will now be driven by Daniel Suarez. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Interesting changes at NWR. Boyer is still in the 15. Edwards is still in the 55. Truex is still in the 56. But there's a new car on the block. Numbered 66. Used to be an R&D car before 2017 for MWR, but now it's being driven by none other than Eric Jones. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Eric Jones. Eric Jones is still a thing. Still a thing in this universe. Still a thing in this universe. 2017 Penske, Logano in the 2, unfortunately. Ryan Blaney moves over from the 21 to the 22. And you may have noticed that Casey Mears is absent from JGR. Well, instead of being there, he's going to be in the 21 car in 2017. How's that sound? I think it sounds good. Rick Murray remains in the Chevrolet for Furniture Row in 2017. Casey Kane and Kyle Larson make up Ganassi. Harvick's still in the 4 and Danica is still in the 10, but Tony Stewart had to retire, which means that he needs to give up his seat to someone else. There is someone in the pipeline, but for now, that seat's going to be filled by Greg Biffle. I said he was going away forever. I tricked you. Oh, I tricked you. Yeah, Greg Biffle takes over the 14 for a year. And Sam Hornish is the one that's going to take over the 41. So it's a very, very Toyota-type season in 2017. Boyer wins twice. Edwards wins thrice. Truex wins 4 races. Hamlin wins 3 races. Kyle Busch wins 3 races. And Kurt Busch wins 2 races. Many wins. Many wins by that group. Keselowski wins twice. Matt Kenseth only wins once. Just like in real life, Stenhouse wins at Daytona and Talladega. Casey Mears finds victory lane in the 21 car one time, ends up the year 10th in points. Blaney also finds victory lane, ends up 12th in points. Oh wait, did I say 12th for McMurray? I mean, sorry, for Mears. I meant 10th for Mears. Blaney is 12th. Jamie McMurray wins no races, 13th in the standings. So Sam Hornish finds victory lane twice in the 41 car, ends out the year 9th in points. No wins for Biffle. He's just kind of there. The final four in 2017. Those guys are, in fact, Carl Edwards, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Larson. He may have had some stupidity this year in real life, but in this reality, Larson is your 2017 champion. So now we got to figure out what in the world's happening over there at Hendrick. 2018 sees many changes, one of which is Brad Keselowski remaining in the 5, but Chase Elliott moves to a 9 car. Well, it's not really a move, it just renumbers. Byron takes over the 24, Alex Bowman in the 88. So, the 48, as you can clearly see, isn't the biggest number at Hendrick. That means that Hendrick drops the 48 car in 2018 and keeps the 5 instead. Basically, Hendrick has the same lineup except Keselowski's in the 5 in this case. But everything else remains the same. Now over for Roush. Stenhouse remains in the 6. Trevor Bayne goes to the 17, but Ryan Reed is going to drive in the 16 in 2018. You can determine whether or not that'll end well. No changes at Joe Gibbs, Hamlin, Suarez, Busch, and Busch. Boyer, Edwards, Truex, and Jones remains in MWR. Penske's a little different. Logano and Blaney remain in their spots. Casey Mears remains in the 21. Paul Menard moves over to the 12 car, just like kind of in real life, in a sense. So as you can see, RCR kind of falling apart at this point. Richard Childress digging his own grave with his terrible, terrible grandchildren driving the 3 and the 31. Which means that Newman's been pushed out, and he instead goes to the 78 car now, after McMurray has been kind of performing, but not up to the point that Barney Visser would really like, as a matter of fact. Where does McMurray end up, you may ask? Well, that is in fact going to be an interesting case. That is going to be Stewart-Haas. Danica retires and all that good shit. Harvick remains in the 4. Sam Hornish remains in the 41. Greg Biffle goes away, and Cole Custer is in the 14. Jamie McMurray drives the newly renumbered 44. And one more change. Casey Kane leaves the 1 car, and in his place is Brennan Poole. The 1 car is Brennan Poole, and Kyle Larson is the 42. And there you have it. That is 2001 to 2018, all the thrills and chills and twists and turns of the NASCAR world. It's not that different to real life. It ends out about in a very similar way to the way that it ends out in real life, but the way that you get there, the way you get the journey to get there is quite different. Now, one last thing before we go. I'm going to show you a couple of slides of which are going to be the win allocations. Jimmie Johnson won 83 races as of the recording of this video. At least from his rookie season to 2017, which is where we're going through in this video. 83 wins is quite a few wins, which means those wins need to be reallocated through the field. And the two or three slides that you see on your screen right now are how those wins are distributed every year, year by year. To summarize it, I'll just tell you what every driver's win total is through the year 2017. Kurt Busch has 31 career victories. Dale Jr. has 30 career victories. Jeff Gordon has 97 career victories. Mark Martin has 44 career victories. Kevin Harvick has 50 career victories. Kyle Busch has 42 career victories. Carl Edwards has 40 career victories. Tony Stewart has 57 career victories. Matt Kenseth has 40 career victories. Keselowski has 26 career victories. Jason Keller has 6 career victories. And Casey Mears has 7 career victories. I don't want to hear any fucking shit about Casey Mears, by the way. I didn't make him a 10-time champion, alright? 7 wins. Come on. I can fucking dream. But I think you get the idea. That... Oh, goodness gracious. That was a lot of talking, is what it was. Yeah, that was what if Dale Jr. No, wait, Dale Jr. What the fuck am I talking? Jimmie Johnson. What if Jimmie Johnson... What if he died in 2000 and never became the multi-time champion and multi-time race winner and international sensation that he is? What can you even say, man? What can you say? Anyway, yeah, so that's about it. This has been a long-ass video, is what it's been. Yes, this has been What If Jimmie Johnson Died in 2000. It's it's a lot of deaths, and if you want a champion, I did just give a race winner summary, but I can also give you a champion summary. 2001, Jeff Gordon. 2002, Tony Stewart. 2003, Matt Kenseth. 2004, Jeff Gordon. 2005, Kurt Busch. 2006, Matt Kenseth. 2007, Jeff Gordon. 2008, Carl Edwards. 2009, Denny Hamlin. 2010, Kevin Harvick. 2011, Tony Stewart. 2012, Brad Keselowski. 2013, Kevin Harvick. 2014, Kevin Harvick. 2015, Carl Edwards. 2016, Kyle Busch. 2017, Kyle Larson. And I think that's more than enough for this video. Without a doubt, this was one of the longest videos I've ever done. And I had a lot of talking. Yeah. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that craziness. If you got any more ideas for scenarios here, why don't you slap them in the comment section, and I'll consider them. I don't want to do Dale Earnhardt because Griff Dog already made. God, that should be a Netflix series. Okay, that's how much effort went into What If Dale Earnhardt Was Still Alive. Okay, watch that if you're gonna watch something like that. Okay, come on now. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you whenever I make next. Bye.